Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the session on boatyards. What we're going to do, it's not going to be a presentation as such. We are going to have a group discussion. There's no need for us to stand up here and tell you what to do and how to do it. A lot of you are yard operators, and we can utilise our skills and knowledge together. So we've got a little panel together, which I'll introduce, and by that way we will open this up, and we will be presenting some points and then talking to that. Now, anyone wants to chime in at any time, that's what it's all about. It's something that we can all learn together by utilising our knowledge of what we do within the industry. So, firstly, we've got Lorraine Yates. Now, Lorraine's with White Bay 6 in Sydney. I'll give you a quick intro to Lorraine's background. So, she grew up in Sydney and studied at University of New South Wales before moving to Canberra and to master her skills as a policy advisor and consultant project manager with both the Australian and New South Wales governments. She has very strong ties with Sydney's working harbour, and eventually drew her back to Sydney, where she founded and operated well-known commercial fleet H2O taxis for 10 years. She's co-founder of the successful campaigned Sparkman and Stevens classic racing Komatsu Azuro, a story becoming legendary in the ocean racing circles, and as general manager of the award-winning White Bay 6 Marine Park, incorporating Sydney Harbour boat storage. Lorraine targets safety in the workplace, quality assurance, the development of positive customer relationships. Next to Lorraine, we have Glen Scott from Royal Queensland Yacht Squadron. Glen is the Marina manager at RQ, as we call it up here. Has 20 years' experience in the marine industry, which spans a diversity of skills from tugs, barges and landing barges, managerial knowledge from time as Marina manager at Cran Cove, and the capability as a shipping agent. Immediately prior to RQ, Glen was operations manager for Queensland-based Bhagwan Marine, where he managed the marine logistics for a number of large-scale projects, including the resurfacing of Lord Howe Island Airport and Riverfire Festival in Brisbane. At RQ, Glen intends to use he is using his experience to improve member services and increase marina patronage. Ultimately, he looks forward to fostering positive and productive working relationships within the marina facility at Royal Queensland Yacht Squadron. Now, this little bio on myself, I did not write, so don't. This is my wife who does our marketing. So we own Gold Coast City Marina and Shipyard up at Coomera, which some of you will be visiting tomorrow, which is a family business which we started in. It opened its doors in 2000. What has she written here about me? Crikey. Okay. GCCM has become an international marina and shipyard benchmark and a vital part of the Australian superyacht industry. I received the MIA Outstanding Contribution to an individual to the industry in 2016-17. Gold Coast City Marina is accredited with as a Level 3 International Clean Marina and fish-friendly marina, being the only marina and shipyard in Australia to score 100% on the audit. For the last two decades, Gold Coast City Marina has invested heavily and consistently in promoting the Australian superyacht and marina industry across the globe. I am constantly supported by all the Australia's peak marine industry bodies, and he strongly advocates for what is fair and right in the industry, both now and in the future. Trenton and his team remain firmly focused on continually evolving to provide outstanding marina facilities and services for both the national and international yachting market. There we go. All right. So as I say, we'll take this through as a bit of a discussion point. We've got a number of topics which we will be raising, and each of us will be addressing. One of the things that's come up is becoming more evident and prevalent within our industry is the level of service of professionalism and how we conduct our team and our tenants and operators on site. One of the things that we're doing at our property is that we've introduced a code of conduct, which will become forming into part of the leases for our businesses that operate on site. we believe it's important for the whole of our property, and I think for the industry in general, to adopt a more professional approach to how they deal with the vessels and the customers and the wider industry. Part of that too is it's important that our staff, internal staff, and our tenants on site that are operating there are part of that whole process. They can't do it as just the management on their own. It's got to be buy-in from everybody on site, because what it leads into a lot of other facets of which we will discuss. But the industry is changing, and what people are expecting from us is improving. They want a lot better service, but also there's a lot more risk from a yard's perspective for anything goes wrong. So by implementing a code as such, and having that documented and easy for people to know how we expect to operate on site, both from the tenant side of it as well as the customer coming in, they know that the yard is making the effort to conduct the business a lot more professionally. There's pros and cons for it. It sets a benchmark for operations and supports the quality of the brand for your business. This will lead to a customer base that supports the value and is not necessarily driven on price. It's more about service. It drives the culture of the business and it gets people on board, so they go along for the ride, and it will drive inquiries into the new business because people see that you're operating at another level. The perception out there, there's some negatives to that. The perception that the business is not flexible, which is something that's just how you've got to articulate that to the marketplace, and it can drive up potential anxiety for businesses due to the increased compliance. But unfortunately, we are not running in a backyard business anymore. It is becoming professional, and we've got a lot of, as owner of facilities, a lot of risk that we're exposed to. And that is part of that we'll go through as well. But that, from a yard's perspective and a manager or owner, by implementing this, you are going a long way forward to protecting yourself and your investment and your team. Now, anyone, as I say, this is a discussion. So I'm just talking about what we're playing with and what we're going through. So.
That code of conduct, does that extend to sort of, obviously that's with your staff and then the other businesses that operate out of your site, but does that also extend to the end user?
Yes.
So that your customer will come and they'll have to decide the code?
Well, there's a different dealing with that. So they'll see it. It's available for them to view, and they understand that we are operating under that way. It extends also to the outside contractors coming in and work on your site. So they've got to, in our place, we've just actually put boom gates in, and we're controlling people coming in and out, making sure they've got external contractors. We don't exclude them, but make sure they've got their insurances and all their tickets and everything in place. And part of that is when they do that induction, they've got to they agree to our terms of our code of conduct. So but from a customer's perspective, obviously they are a little bit different, but they've got to understand exactly that we are going down that path, and we expect a level of care and duty on when you're operating on site, and that it is a profession, it is a risk to be on site, and they've got to understand that. So yeah, but with the customer a little bit softer. Anyone else? That's all right. Ben, you're going down the path, aren't you? Similar.
We've just gone down the path, I think.
Ben's from the Yard up in Brisbane.
Yep, we've just gone down the path of putting security gates in, boom gates, and the headaches that go along with all of those sorts of bits and pieces that you've been through as well. You touched quickly on the outside contractors, and we have implemented a path. I know everybody here's probably been down the outside contractor game before and have either let it go and just come back into where we are. How do you feel that the outside contractors' restrictions into your facility, are you charging them to be there for the day?
Not at this point. That in the future we'll look at that side of it. But a majority of them are happy with it. We've had really good support back from some, even got letters back from some of the outside guys saying this is good to see. It gives them knowledge too of how when they come in the site, obviously how they're expected to, but then they know where they can operate, and they work with the team. So, and the team, and then also the team on site who live there and work there, they're acting as police too. So if someone has snuck in, they pull them up. So there's got to go two ways. But from the people that are going through the process, majority of I heard people ring me and say, when can I come in and do the induction? I want to, because they've got good business there, they've got customers they come into, and they want to work with us to make it happen. So
the positives are far outweigh the negatives.
yeah, exactly. And you'll always look. And this is the cowboys. You want to try to stop the guys that are coming in and not having insurances and not having the right tickets and all the rest of it, and operating and working and sneaking in and out to do jobs, but putting everyone else at risk. And that's the problem for us as a facility operators and owners. The risk is quite severe now if anything goes wrong. So, anyone? All right. Next part we're going to go through, and we will just bounce back and forth between it. It just brings in part of this, then flows into what is being more prevalent on sites now is project management. So I'll hand over to Glen to quickly discuss.
Morning, everyone. Just to follow on from what Trent was saying about the contractors, we've pushed pretty hard. Royal Queensland Squadron, if everyone's not aware, is a gated marina access only facility. The only way to get through the gate is to have either be a member with an access card, or you go to reception, sign in, get your induction done, and then you get access to the facility. All contractors pay either a casual day pass or a yearly pass to access the facility. And we've found that since we've been the last 12 months pushing it quite hard, as the feedback's been good from the people that are there. It's sort of pushing away a few of the cowboys and people that are doing things incorrectly, not having insurance is one big thing we found. So a lot of the on-site contractors are happier that they've introduced that. I mean, we're lucky that we've got gated access and it's been that way for many years. What I'm talking about now is the project management of vessels. Royal Queensland, we run a 15-bay work area for the travel lift, 35-tonne travel lift, and also we've just recently purchased a 47-tonne Rudberg trailer. We don't do the project management ourselves, we only do the lift out of the water blast, rack the boats up. All our on-site contractors do all the work on the boats. We find that's really good risk mitigation. I think it's a long-term thing. Our she's 134 years old, so it's been a long-term plan, which was spoken about in the last previous program. The contractors find it better if they manage the boat. We're quite lucky that we have a lot of members that bring the boats in, so they're happy to gain the trust of the on-site contractors. A lot of the contractors have been there for since 31 years old. The trouble is there's two businesses that have been there from the start, so a lot of repeat customers. And we're finding a lot of, we've got a yacht share group there. A lot of the owners that we're finding now are happy to hand it over to the experts rather than try and do it themselves. I would say we would get 1 in 50 boats would try to do the work themselves. It's getting that small. Obviously the revenue for the contractor doing the project management is good because they're getting all the services into themselves and then they're putting their own cost on. A lot of the owners like that because they get one invoice. It's good for us because we know that we're only going back to one person to find out has their bill been paid, are they right to get launched. A lot of the owners are saying they're happier because they've got one point of contact. It's then good for us too because you've got all the workplace health and safety, we go back to one person. Trent's touched on the safety side of it. It's a big push from, I think, a lot of boat yards since we've started this conversation with a lot of other managers around the boat yards as well. It's good to have, if we see a problem with a vessel not being screened or someone not using their high-risk licences, we can contact the one person and get them to come down and assess the situation. Some of the negatives are, obviously, owners think that the extra costs involved with managing different contractors that they're putting a little 10-15% on top and then it ends up costing them more for the job. That's obviously the owner's decision on which way they want to go, whether they've got the time to come down to the boat or whether they've not got the time to come down and speak to the contractor in person.
A lot of people now too, I think, they're not as adept at working on boats as they used to be in the past. A lot of people grew up around boats from little kids, and they learn how to work on different parts of the boat themselves. People are coming into boating differently now. They're coming in at bigger boats as their first boat. So that's where the project management really ticks the boxes, because they can't do this. They haven't got the skill set or the knowledge anymore. But also, it does, as Glen said, it mitigates some risk. But when for the owner, it is just that one person. If anything goes wrong, they don't have to go chasing a contractor who can just keep them at bay. Whereas someone doing that in charge of it is they've got that security of that. Some yards are doing that. Like we do that at our yard. We have a full project management service, partial, or operate yourself. And horses for courses. And we're dealing in some bigger boats as well as smaller. But we are finding a lot more owners of 40 to 50, 60 footers are asking for project management now, just because it's they don't have their time for. They don't want to run around chasing it, and they're not good at it. They've worked out that they've stuffed up last time they were in the yard, and it cost them more money. So it's I don't know if anyone there. As I say, pipe up anytime, hands up. We can we'll take add in. Yep.
Yeah, Trent. I had a marine engineering business for a number of years, which is now not doing that, but. The amount of times I go to various marinas and we're going to put in big diesel tanks, or we're doing something, and you can see that the electrician hasn't done that, the carpenter hasn't done that, there's no project manager, and we'd end up becoming the pseudo project manager, because otherwise it was just going to end up a mess. So I don't think good project management can be understated. It's actually it's a lifesaver.
A lot of times it actually is more cost effective, because like you touched on, the time delays and things not one contractor turns up, ready to go, and then the lead-in's not done, so then he leaves, and then he's not back for 3 weeks because he's you've had to change his slot. So it can that adds up. Then if you're in a shed or you're up on the hard or whatever, then the blowouts happen, and we see that regularly at our place. Boats that were booked in for a 6 week refit, and we've got this at 3.5 months later they're still in there because they've been doing it themselves, and it just keeps getting them. So
can I just make a comment on that as
Yep.
well? We have flexibility around that, so you can organise for us to project manage for you, or you could also do it yourself. One of the downsides of doing it yourself could also be that the build shock, the advent of build shock. We know where we're not project managing it, and it might be contractors who are delaying work on a boat, and so it might be the layover of the boat by about 2 or 3 days. They haven't told us. We've got it in a space there, and then of course it's just accruing late charges. So of course we're going to have a really upset customer. So we've got to stay in contact with them constantly. It's better if we can project manage, but we often people just don't want you to do that. So there are advantages and disadvantages. One of the things that I would also comment on as well in that sense, if we are project managing it, we have a number of tenants on site, very skilled individuals, but every now and then something might go wrong. You don't always have control over the quality of the work that's being done, and that will affect your own reputation as well. So you've really got to be working extremely well with your tenants and be right on top of the job all the time. So you do lose a little bit of control over things.
Well, and the yards where they've got multiple, contractors working on projects, you can have 10 contractors working on it, and the marina, and the yard work involved, but one will will have a bad, something will go wrong with the project, and that affects the whole lot of us. And it can mean you lose the marina, or the yard can lose a customer, and they're happy with 9 out of the 10, but one person, had a bad job, and we all pay the price. So being involved, even at our place, if we're not project managing it, we always want to keep touching on what's going. We want to be part of the conversation, be in communication with all of the contractors and the owners throughout to make sure that we can mitigate those risks, because, as I say, at the end of the day, they can be 90% happy, but they'll never come back because that one person made it, lost it for everybody. So for us, it's imperative to have that communication across the board with owners as well as the contractors, and to make sure they know they can come back to us at any time. Yeah. Yes, Sean.
Does Gold Coast City Marina actually undertake project management?
Yeah, we do.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you use a portfolio of contractors?
That's right. Yeah. And what we do is that when we operate, because we've got a number of different contractors across the spread in our place, because we'll have a number of electricians or a number of fabricators, we'll give the owner the option, say these are the quotes, so we let them see it, so they can they say, well, I've dealt with him before, I'll do it. I want to he can be on the job. So we're not running it so we're just telling them this is how you're using or who you're using. We give them the option. So
how many project managers would you have
on site? 9. Across the spread. We've got a couple internal, and then a number, and then with our contractors and operators on there. So.
But you're so right. The reputational damage comes back to the Gold Coast City Marina. Or
That's right.
Shipyard,
That's right.
Or shipwreck or wherever, not the contractor that adds the bad run on the job.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those damn if you do dead.
That's a big point, because it wasn't ABC contractor that caused the problem. The facility is what is known as what did a bad job, but it wasn't them. So
Trent, how do you go about selecting your contractors to be on site in sheds? And do you have an ongoing quality assurance program on your contractors, or is it all sort of feedback, word of mouth?
When you're working with them on projects, you get to see what they're how they're working at the time. We do take feedback from customers. They say, hey, look, he's not performing very well at the moment. Everyone else is good, and we'll sit them down and say, listen, we're getting some bad feedback, because it's important for them to know.
Yeah.
Obviously, when we started 20 years ago, we filled up the facility, and over the years we've been we target people that we want to be in there that are leading the field. So across the board, we've got some of the best contractors in the country, and they've got. And the beauty of that too is they've got a following of vessels and customers that come for them. So it works well for the yard and us that they bring customers to us as well.
Do you have much of a turnover rate in your contract?
Not too many, no, very little.
Do we have much?
No, very little.
We get retirements.
Yeah.
But we work on bringing in the younger ones in as well, or the guys who want to go out on their own. We'll work with them.
Yeah, with the expansion with our new Rudberg trailer, we've had 3 new customers, tradespeople come in, mostly from the Gold Coast, and they're coming because of the extra boats we're lifting out, and also because of the size of our marina. It's the capacity now. They need those extra contractors to come in just to fulfil what the other contractors can't complete.
From that, we're leading into following items along, but Lorraine's going to talk about the next one, which is becoming a bigger issue within our industry. We touched on it earlier, but it is, workplace health and safety, EPA, compliance, government, because the Australian and local governments love to have their fingers in everything, and it seems to slow down everyone's business. So I'll just hand to Lorraine to touch on what that side of the industry.
Thank you, Trent. So about 18 months, or probably around 2 years ago now, we did have an incident on our site where a person fell off a ladder. Didn't end very well for him in terms of an injury to his leg. And of course, we had all the necessary authorities on our site investigating us and seeing exactly how that went wrong. But for us, it was a point that we could reassess exactly what our priorities were. And we've articulated that safety is the highest priority on our site, and it's above and beyond quality and above and beyond our economy as well, and our financial position, because we know if we can't cover safety and we don't have a culture that really adopts those really good safety principles, we're going to find ourselves in an awful lot of trouble. As we know, at the boatyard, we've got an awful lot of moving parts there. We've got 2 giant forklifts, travel lifts. We have 500,000 litres worth of fuel on site. There's a number of ways that you could get hurt on our site, or worse. When we had Safe Work New South Wales on our site, they were very clear to us to make sure that we understood that we were classified as a hostile work site under WHS terms. So, as you can see, you can't ignore it. It's never going to go away. And we just absolutely tightened up our controls. And what you were talking about being a gated environment, well, we are like that too. One of the downsides of being on the waterfront, well, we well, I suppose we could, but we can't afford to put a fence all around the perimeter of our site. So we can be fairly controlled to a certain extent, but there are gaps in that. So we'll risk manage that and tighten up things as much as we can, but we have a great diversity of the people who attend our site. So, and that's contractors, tenants who have their own employees, and we have 25 of our own direct employees as well. So we have to manage those slightly differently. So with staff, they're all very well trained in WHS. So as well as the training that we give them, we send them on courses. All will have providers come to our site. So more recently we had our Working at Heights course run on our site. So we had 15 participants, 10 of them were our staff, and we offered tenants 5 opportunities as well, which they took up very readily. We'll do a daily safety briefing with all of the most senior people who are outside in our yard. So they'll pick one thing and it will be related to what the major part of the work is that they're doing on that day. And they'll talk it through with everybody for 5 minutes, or they'll pick someone, a staff member, and get them to articulate exactly, I'm going to choose this thing, you tell me all about it. So our mind is focused on it every day. So toolbox meetings occur either once a week or once a fortnight. Safety always gets mentioned within our toolbox meetings. We're very strict about those too. We have to have them at least every fortnight. We document, we get everyone to sign off that they were actually there, so we have minutes on those, and then we also have an attendance list. So you can see you're never going to escape all of the ideas that we know are going to keep everybody safe on our site. So education and acknowledgement is vitally important. But that's our staff, and we include our tenants in a large part of that as well. But where contractors are concerned, that's obviously a lot harder. We've got around 150 contractors who are on our books who will come to our site. We'll have 50 to 60 per week, maybe. So we have been utilising the BIA Marine card system, which a lot of people will know about that already. It has a really good site induction or an industry induction. So contractors we consider to be customers as well. We really look after them, making sure that they want to come back to our site all the time. So they don't, we're really careful there too, because they don't all want to have a marine card. So we don't insist that they have it, but we do use their electronic system to be able to register everyone onto the site. If they've done the marine card induction, that's great, but anyone who hasn't done that, or even if they have to do our on-site induction as well. And it takes 15 minutes or maybe 30 minutes, depending on who's doing it. And then before you can go into our site, you will have a high vis on. So you either bring your own, and if you don't, we'll put you in high vis. And we've distinguished as well, something that's very important for us, is between contractors and workers and just visitors to site. Because we know that boat owners, of course, love to come onto the site and have a look at their boats. Contractors and workers will be in green. If you're a visitor, you'll be in orange. So if we see someone with orange climbing up a ladder, then we can quickly get them down. Everyone on site really is going to know something's not right there, and we'll save you from hurting yourself and save ourselves a great deal of grief as well. So contractors as well, high-risk work permits. If you're doing anything working at heights, you might be diving or hot works. We need to know the scope of works when you attend our site, and we'll take you through a whole process of the Safe Work Method Statement, which everyone will be familiar with, or also known as a JSA or JHA in some areas as well. And then you'll be given that permit. We'll be assessing you out on the site as well in terms of it's not just a tick and flick process. We really want to see that you understand what you're signing up for there. And then you'll be given a period of time within which to use that permit. It'll be just that day. If you come to work the next day, we may extend it, but if it's next week, we will start again. And then also, we'll assess all day, every day, everyone who's on our site. So every time I'm out there in the yard, the first thing is in my mind is just, and it's almost like second nature now, and it's subliminal too. So you're just doing a quick assessment of everybody. Are they wearing safety glasses? Is someone standing on a ladder doing something really dangerous? Are there hot works there that I know are not hasn't been assessed? And all of our staff are empowered to speak to our visitor or our contractors and tenants as well, and just make sure that they're absolutely doing the right thing. Challenges to doing all of that. There are challenges. People do sneak into site. The good thing is that we're all in high vis, and I can see one person out there who hasn't got a high vis on. We can really quickly track them down and bring them into the site. Also, I've heard people talk about the difficulty in transitioning contractors and other people into the site in terms of getting used to the idea of having to provide your insurances and do the induction of wear high vis. We don't find that anymore because it's so well indoctrinated on our site, and we deliver the message really well in the very beginning. It's actually been quite easy, and I can't really remember any instances in the last 12 months where people have been resistant to that change. So it gets easier. It really gets easier. And just the other thing I'll say about that, well, a few things to say about that. We'll also test everybody's equipment. If they're on site and we can see it hasn't been tested, we will test it for you. It's like electrical leads, and we'll be assessing ladders in terms of should they be on our site. If they're not of an industrial standard, then they can't stay, but we'll also do an assessment and just make sure they're safe. One of the other things that we do from a regulatory perspective, which we've learned is very valuable in the instance where you do have an incident, we have external consultants who work very closely with our group and have been associated with them for many years, essentially in the discipline of environmental science, but heavily involved in work health and safety. So they'll come to our site on a quarterly basis and they'll do a review of our site. They'll be doing like a desk audit of how we're managing, but also they'll be out in the site and looking at the WHS aspects as well. So we get a clean bill of health from them every quarter, plus annually we'll have an audit from them as well, which will be a significant audit, maybe 2 days on a desk audit and 4 to 5 hours out on our site. And we're not a very big site. We've got 12 service bays and a dry stack of about 170 boats. So there'll be 4 to 5 hours, we'll be examining the site and inspecting every detail, and then we'll get an audit report. This is an internal audit, so it's sort of contracted by us, showing us areas where there are opportunities for improvement and any areas of concern that we need to work on. So we do a lot of work on it, and I think that we're very good at it as well, and it's absolutely worthwhile.
Yeah, there's a couple of things about that too. Obviously, the marine industry falls we're in a gap. We're not mining, we're not construction, but we've got to, like Lorraine's saying, go above and beyond and do best practice without going to the nth degree of being a construction site, because then that, for us, it's too onerous for it, and most of our people couldn't handle it because they haven't grown up that way or been started their working career that way. But as a site, the level that White Bay are doing is fantastic. But any instances do occur, the records are there. When the inspectors come on site, you come away in a good position because you've done a very good job of protecting yourself as best you can without there being those levels of control. So we're doing a similar thing at our property, and it protects us and protects our people. But we want to try and keep the authorities offside as much as possible, because we don't want to get bound into the next level of workplace health and safety conditions and become, and then it would become a very hard place for all of our people to work and operate every day. Anyone? Yep.
Adam Brown from Nautilus Insurance. Obviously, we insure a lot of the yards and the marinas as well.
Yep.
Lorraine, I've had a great relationship, and I've seen Lorraine go through the highs and lows of that type of thing. The one thing I'd make a suggestion to the yards is number one, look at other industries and their best practices and potentially roll some of those out into your own. And the third is, I think it's incredibly healthy to have someone second check the job on every occasion. And it's as simple as lowering a boat out of a dry stack and putting it in the water and presuming that the bungs are in when the bungs aren't in, for example, or making sure the ladder was checked by somebody else secondary. No different to a flight attendant when they disarm the door of the airplane. Just, it's another, move the ribbon across or put a bung on the ribbon or whatever you want to do. I think you'll find that will nullify quite a few incidents.
And then I think you're describing our process quite exactly right, because we do use flight streams that you'll see on aircraft propellers. If that stream is on there, then it's got a full check has gone through, been applied to that boat, and it's documented, and you scan and keep the records. Yeah, exactly. We are never going to get caught out.
And do you explain where the exits are on the site?
What weight do you find ISO accreditation from the point of view in an instance sort of situation? Do you find the inspectors and that put weight on in terms of like your ISO accreditation and all that sort of quality assurance audits and so on?
That might be one better one for you, Lorraine.
We actually don't have an ISO accreditation, so we have sourced our information from Safe Work on the basis of the incident that we had. But we also did find, when we examined all of the resources that we had all the resources there, but we were just not using them terribly well. We've drawn on the information that we've already had prescribed for us by consultants over the years in terms of safety. So no, ISO is not really
Yeah.
where we are.
Luke, on that.
Yeah. Luke from Gold Coast City Marina. So I think the biggest thing is, depending on the size of your yard or the risk in your marina, everyone's going to have, varying levels of workplace health and safety plans. And I think the important thing that workplace and health and safety will look at is, one, that it's not just a plan that's been updated last year and it's sitting on the shelf, that you're actually actively doing things, and that you're promoting a culture that's proactive. So you see that you've taken notes from a meeting, at a management meeting, and there's results from that, and there's recommendations, because if you do this plan once every 12 months and you just put it on the shelf, that's exactly what workplace health and safety will look at. And I think to your question regarding ISO certification, those type of levels of certification need to be maintained. And despite the fact that you might have that stamp, they'll also look at, okay, what are you doing to make sure you're maintaining that?
And just on that, Adam, and boatyards and everything that really carries a risk. Don't forget, it's not just you guys and the injuries and the claims and so on. The reinsurers need comfort that you're acting on those things. So don't be afraid to keep telling them what you're updating and improvements you're making, etc., etc. When the renewal comes through, if they hear that some guy's fallen off the ladder, there's a good chance they're not going to want to renew the policy, okay? But the reality is, if you fixed it and you've done it, then you get a much more proactive approach. So please don't come back to the insurance companies every time there's an incident without a new story. You've really got to keep the plans up to date, as Luke said, and keep them informed. You wouldn't give your son a car every Saturday night if you kept crashing it.
Sure.
And I know a lot of work's been done with contractors and working at heights, and I know Glen's sort of adopted the approach from the construction industry, which gives pretty good guidelines. What about owners? I'd be really interested to know what the yards do about owners crawling all over their boats with soapy suds and giving them a wash. They're up pretty high, and they're probably less used to being working on boats than the contractors.
Well, that's part of the education process when they come on site, and again, as Lorraine said, everyone's got to police that when they see them doing something that's not right. You'll be pulled up and say, sorry, you can't. You need to utilise equipment or do it in a different way, because it's if the owner falls, they're going to come back at the yard as well. So it's an education, and that's the problem. Owners have never been dealt that way before, but it's got we've got to do that. Luke, you're chopping in again.
That's a hard one, because you don't want to make your yard for customers.
That's right.
So flexible, but to a new customer to sign a licence agreement, which outlines the rules, the regulations and obligations of an owner. You can put a statement in there that relates to the workplace health and safety statement that you can put on your website. And all you really have to do is just refer to a few of the main things when you're signing that customer on. One of them would be, have you read our health and safety statement online? And you know, whilst they'll still go and do those things, and your staff are part of that compliance and making sure that they're aware of, you know, telling customers to come down from unsafe situations, it does help to mitigate that risk and also potential insurance issues and injury.
Is there any boat out here that don't allow owners to work on their boats?
Me.
Well, this is one of the unique challenges, Trent,
Yeah.
that cultural change in club-owned facilities. And I think if Bill Clossey's here, Sam Ham's here, you know, we are clubs that have operated member service facilities for
30 years.
30 years.
30 odd years.
And in the very early days of our industry, where workplace health and safety was somewhat non-existent in the industry, bring that cultural change through to our members, to get our members to understand that it's not like it was 20 years ago. We can't run the place like it was 20 years ago. Is getting them on board with that level of cultural change. And I give Glen the greatest of accolades for the way that he's taken on that challenge at our club to bring us into that contemporary level of workplace health and safety. And it's just not easy. And
It's very difficult because you
it's
don't.
even harder in a club facility and a facility that is mixed use. Where you've got kids with dinghies, you've got etchels on trailers, you've got yards, you've got everything happening all around.
And the visitors coming in with the people, so that's right. Yeah.
And I know it's easy to say, but the thing I've found is I've actually gone and sat with each of these contractors. We don't have any contractors on site, so we're probably fortunate, well, not like the bigger marinas. But I've actually sat with them and gone through, because some of these people didn't even know what JHA or JSA or any of that even stood for. So now that I've sat down and explained it, it's quite simple to write a hazard assessment, and the staff now actually come back to me and said, "Oh, Glen, I've rewritten this, can you have another look?" So I think it's quite easy maybe in a commercial marina to send an email saying this, you must do this. But I think the engagement, I know everybody understands that, but in my experience in the last 18 months, it's been better to sit down with them, especially these guys who've been in the industry for 30 years who don't understand what that is. So if anybody's here working, especially clubs, I think your clubs are the hardest one.
Clubs have got certainly a challenge because of the membership base. Ben?
No, it's just one of the things we've done. We've implemented, as you spoke about, your code of conduct. We do a 7-minute induction with every customer that comes through the facility. In that induction, we advise them that you are now on a boat that is now 10 metres off the ground and everything else. There are different ways to do it. We empower our staff to go out and we advise them in the induction that we will stop your work there and then if any of us see it's unsafe. So we empower our staff to have a stop work policy. But they'll just walk straight up the boat and say, "Hey mate, you're going to come down right now, we need to talk about this." And we tell the captains and the crews that when they turn up to the boat. So they're ready for it and they're very comfortable about that sort of thing and are happy, because you'll get that mentality where you still have a white boat or somebody standing up there and the crew's still washing the front of the deck with no shoes on, soap suds everywhere, and they're doing it like they would do in the water, so if they fell, they'd fall into the water.
And that comes down to it's communication. Yeah, and done the right way. So you're not coming in as a yoga, but
it's all up front with them and advising that it's a safe. Trying to put up the front foot on the safety is our main, and your safety is it. So.
Just to add to that, a number of different ways you can do it discreetly without being too direct is signage in strategic locations, and also utilising your tenants on site to be part of that compliance and those ambassadors as well, because they're paying good money to be there, and they want to see other external contractors and customers being safe on their site. And that can be done through something like an e-newsletter where you've got safety tip of the month or something like that becomes part of their culture as well. So become a bigger team that are driving that culture.
Do you guys like we manage we work with the government in New South Wales, and we've got some Slipways.
Big voice.
Well, we've got slipways that we manage from the government in New South Wales, and we've got some really bad practices that go on there, and we're sort of looking at ways to kind of learn from the industry here. I'm wondering if you have some sort of policy there where you have like a 3-stroke system and you're out with the contractor or owner. We find a lot of the boats that get maintained on these sites are owners doing the work and their mates in thongs and fair fee. Sometimes we've seen all sorts.
It's terrifying, isn't
We've
it?
seen some, yeah, and it's a lot of fishermen, trawlers. So there's probably 40 years of bad habits we're going to have to break. Hopefully, when we upgrade these new facilities and get new operators in there, we'll be able to break those bad trends. But I'm wondering, is there like a 3 strikes and you're out system?
We issue warnings to people on our site, about conduct or their performance and things like that. And as I say, we pull them in and have discussions with them. So, and that's documented. So,
if it's attached to their lease, that's a good way to. I mean, generally in any state, there's legislation around workplace health and safety obligations, and it's set up in most standard lease agreements. So, I guess the moment if it's a serious risk, the moment you mention that will breach on your lease if this happens again. And, I guess the hardest thing is those external ones. So that's, the induction is a good way.
The contractors there, it's the owners.
Yeah.
You should be getting to sign a slipping agreement.
Well, that's exactly right. So in your lifting agreement or whatever, that should cover that off. So they are bound to it. So there is you do have a recourse there under that.
It's really important to educate them
Yes.
about what it is exactly you want them to do.
And that, I think that's part of the thing I was saying about the communication too. When they come in, if you're upgrading your policies on how you to operate, so you're getting a safer practice on site. That's when they come in. That's the time to do it. So, okay, we have upgraded this. We want you to have a read of this. Here's a little, the pamphlet or a one pager. Go through it and explain to them how that's what's expected now.
Doesn't the MIA have like a standard sort of agreement for mooring arrangements? Is there something like that as well for lifting arrangements?
Yeah, we have, we've got a marina berthing agreement, and then we've got a slipway agreement, which if they don't sign that, we don't lift the boat. We don't have a copy of the insurance, and
Yep.
something, they don't come out of the water. And that's if that's the owner or the contractor, but if, in your case, I'd certainly get the owner to sign that, and when he's signing that, explain to him exactly what he's saying now.
That's about site induction. If you want to change the culture, change your slipping agreement and then do a physical site induction for them when they arrive. And it might be, from A to Z right through to you must wear safety boots and observe safety requirements. And if need be, what we did, safe work method statements for, we physically gave to some of our contractors the legislation and how to write a safe work method statement for the advice. Because there was this, I don't know how to do it, which is terrifying thought, but you may need to have to go to that stage as you go through the education process, as you're changing the culture. And it may be a very long journey.
Yeah, and especially if you're dealing with like trawler operators and things like that. Ultimately, they're a professional skipper. They are, but they do like to take shortcuts. So they're the guys you got to, sit down with them and say, next time you're out, that is what you expected. We can't accept anything less. So they've got to change the way they do it because they will always push it. So, as I say, communicating with them and make it simple for them, and the documentation so it's nice and simple. You can lay it out nice and easily, but it's clear cut what you expect and what they've got to adhere to.
I think it's got to be a multi-pronged stage thing because, as everyone's sort of highlighted, the boat owner is one problem, but I think if you're looking at contractors, you should be getting on your contractors and making sure that they do BIA inductions and OHS induction. I mean, it's an online induction course, so you can basically do that quite easily in segments. You don't have to sit down and do it all in one go. You can break it up and do modules. So there's that system straight up, and that's going to at least give them an understanding of how to write some of the stuff their standard operating procedures, and it goes through all of that sort of stuff. So that would be a perfect way to capture the people that are coming to your place on a regular basis. Yeah, so, that certainly is, from the MIA provide a lot of procedures for marinas and boat yard operation. You can buy, as just mentioned before, you can buy a lot of that stuff. So, there's a lot of resources out there that you can tap into.
Yeah, that's good. Yep, I'm back.
So from the lost state, so we have several approaches. We've got about 100 dry extent workberths and then 2 facilities that we run. So we have quite a strict permit system where we really have like cranes and high-ends through to hot works, find space, try and hit all those hot ones. But then we risk profile our contractors. So we look at what they're doing from a surveyor who's just ticking boxes, doing a survey, and we tap with a hammer. We'll obviously start off as a low risk, and then we see how he's working, and then the profile on how he works actually comes out and actually giving him a score through to a guy that's in with a massive crane truck and doing heavy machinery. We'll start with quite a high risk profile, but if he's doing everything right and everything, he can actually move down more of a medium risk versus an inspector that's doing a really bad job, doesn't wear his high vis, goes in without confined space permit. He can actually move into high risk because even though he's doing low risk at the start, he's not doing a very good job. And then from that, we concentrate on our high risk and we look at them more often to the low risk ones, which we look at less frequently. And it's quite a simple sort of, under ISO I'm an ISO auditor originally, so I implement the system into our marinas. It seems to work really well because our legislations, we stole it off you, I think, pretty much, our health and safety. They virtually mirror each other, and there is a requirement in there to actually be monitoring your contractors. And we looked at how do we do this, and we got this risk profile system to actually, really concentrate on the ones that are not doing it correctly. That's sort of how we've looked at it.
And that's what I said earlier too. It's important that not just your own staff operating on site, it's the contractors that are there, be part of that message and be part of the policing and protection, pulling people up.
Taking the high risk profile, and we send it to the owner of the company or the manager, the profile, and I get phone calls going, I can't believe my staff did that today. And my staff can do the profiles any time, but there's also a program system that these guys are due at this certain date because of their profile.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seems to work.
All right. Anyone else? Well, yep.
Yeah, we talked a lot about contractors and suppliers and owners and stuff. I think we've also got to look at the equipment side and make sure that you use the same systems as you are for your contractors, for your machinery and your equipment. I can absolutely guarantee it happens more than you think it does. I think we've had 5 major liability claims this year on things like cables, tyres and other things, and those can be pretty horrific when you go through it. So I'd encourage the high risk, low risk process, the double checking of machinery, cables, etc., etc.
I absolutely agree on that. I'll just mention here as well, we're going to talk about maintenance as well at some point, but we'll go into a little bit more detail later, but certainly we have one dedicated individual who looks after all of those things on our site, but where necessary as well, where we see it of value to have somebody independent come and make assessments as well, we'll do that too.
Yeah. All right, and again, it's a lot of the changes going through our industry, and we've just got to get beyond the front foot. That's the biggest thing in the message to all of us is just you can't sit back and do what we used to do. So, fire up.
Question: when you talk about your yard sites, your sites down on the marina, when you've got your contractors working on top of boats, cleaning and stuff like that, how do you go about pulling those guys working at height? Because they're going to be off the top 2 or 3 metres.
Well, it all comes down to how you operate on the yard. I mean, a lot of the times on the boats, they've got hook-on points for harnessing. So, the bigger boats are all set up for that. In our situation, if anyone's working in the water over that, we do have, we set up scaffolding off barges around the boats. So that we're putting protection in for in-water works that way. So that's how we're doing it. All right. lead into the next thing, sort of, you know, going on from that side of it. But we're talking about like training and education, and that's and the next generation of staff coming through, because in our industry it is a big point of you know, we've got a lot of ageing contractors out there that are experts in what they do, but it's getting that the next generation through. Each state has got different systems in place with education programs, and we're working in Queensland up here with the state. They're very proactive on bringing that in. In our area, there's a lot of schools that we're targeting or working with and there's actually programs where they're out of the school into the business during the year. But one of the, you know, but also there's something that we need to look at as a group, as an industry. It's not just the youth. I mean, you know, it's a great avenue, but it's also mature age workers being skilled into our industry. So there's a lot of opportunities out there that we can grab hold of, and there is programs in place from state and federal government for employing these people, and a lot of the, you know, they may come from another background. I mean, military is a classic example. They've got a lot of experience and skill sets, and it doesn't take a lot for them to be brought into our industry, you know, and be upskilled. So you know, you've got to look at those opportunities. One of the things that we've done on our place is that we actually have set up some what we call startup hubs, but it gives either a young guy or an older guy who's going out on their own an opportunity to get on site and get out of and not be in the ute. So they actually become a tenant on site. They're part of the team and the establishment, but it gives them an opportunity to be there at a lower price point and get it and start building their business, I should say, and their profile. It does a couple of great things when you bring these guys in too, because one, they bring in other customers, which is good for everybody on site. But also, you know, you've got a young guy or a signal operator who's hungry, and the established people on site, they've got someone nipping at their heels. So it gets them to make sure that they're doing a good job on site as well.
Sorry, Fred.
Yeah.
What's that look like for a startup?
What we've done, just so they are flexible on our property, because obviously we've got a big hard stand, so we've utilised a couple of 40-foot containers with the dome, fabric dome over the top, and we build in an office at the back, so that it gives them a covered work area and they can storage and an office. But for us, it's then movable. We can move them around the site in the future if we want to change the way we're operating or how we're doing it. That was a simple process for us. Obviously, around the world, the work domes are everywhere. You know, they're a great, you know, tool in yards because of the flexibility with them, because they're not a permanent structure. So that's the way we went down there. You know, they're industrial looking, but we're an industrial. You know, it's an industrial part of the yard.
How many of those do you have?
We've got 5 at the moment. 5, yeah. So, and they're all full. And we've already, for us too, what it does is they get into it, and then they grow the business, and that's your next line. You know, they're the next contractor to go into. If an availability of a bigger space comes up, you've already got them on site, so they just step into it. And we're actually we've got a building, doing a new building at the moment, which will be 2 of the hubs will go across into that. So, another thing that we do on site too with these people is, you know, we've got because you've got such good experienced contractors in the industry. They're taken to we've got a mentoring program going on where those guys are helping the younger guys who are coming through and really having a go at growing their business. So they, you know, some of our people have really taken it upon themselves to help them grow, which is really good to watch. Sometimes they get to teach them some of their bad habits, which is not so good. But it's good to see that you know, the skill and the experience is helping that next generation. So we really encourage that, and that's part of what we work with our team to make sure we can do it. And that's internally we do help with that. We spend a lot of time with them, but also it's good to see the contractors on site doing that. So as I say, if you're looking at getting new people on site, it's worth looking into the government programs, because there is opportunities out there to help you both financially and get people there. Anyone want to add to that before we move on to the?
Yeah, I'll just comment on that very quickly. If you are looking at government programs, I do it very, very quickly because they come and go very quickly. In New South Wales, we were very interested in, we had identified a course that was developed in conjunction with the MIA, and there was a private company who was running those courses, and there was government contribution to be made to that as well. And by the time I got to it and applied for it, it finished. All the places were full, and then they moved on to Queensland.
Yeah, you get if you go on and you register, you'll get the updates of what's coming through.
Yeah. So act very quickly.
You do. Don't muck around when they do come up, because they, as Lorraine says, they fly through, and they say we've got all this money, but it's small little bits that come out each time. As we got new properties and older properties, becoming very important is the property management and property and asset management on site. So that's Lorraine will talk to us about that, but it is a big issue on our properties now.
Yeah, we've covered some of it already, and largely for us it's about tenancies and how we use the land that we've got. We've got approval at the moment to develop some of the areas of that we currently have containers, and to put workshops and things like that in. So attracting or building beautiful facilities like that will of course attract really good quality tenants, hopefully, but nevertheless you really want to be, your best attempt is to get really good quality tenants in there who do good quality work, because as we spoke about before, whatever work they do, it will affect your reputation and carry it with you. And also make sure that they're tenants who will bring income into your yard, because it's really a bit of a waste of space if you've got someone who does all a contract, or a tenant who does fantastic work but they take their boat somewhere else, or they travel a lot. You're not getting the best benefit that you can from that. Leases, I would caution people to make sure that their leases or their sub-licences, or however you construct them, are drafted by a legal practitioner. I've got legal training myself, but I wouldn't draft those. The very base of them, I would have somebody formally assess those to make sure that they're constructed quite perfectly.
But also they need to be reviewed regularly, because the laws change around leasing and what's permissible and not. It gets away from you very easily. You think, our leases are up to date, but they haven't been looked at by lawyers for 5 or 6 years, and there's a lot of holes in them. So it's something you need to, unfortunately, keep on top of.
Yeah, time flies very quickly, so you do forget about it. But, and as you mentioned earlier, tie in the code of conduct if you can, environmental compliance requirements, quality standards, if you can tie those in too. Probably possibly difficult to monitor and benchmark, but I'd have something in there making sure that quality gets a mention. From our site, from where we started to where we are now, we had 5 major project approvals go through process with Department of Planning and Port Authority, where on Port Authority land, until we could get to the stage that we're at the moment. And within each one of those approvals is a great deal of information about what you can and can't do on our site. But that's tied into our leases as well, so people, it's very, very clear that if there's any non-compliance going on, we can hold them to account. We are still held liable for anything that goes on our site, even if it's a tenant that does it, so it's absolutely in our interest to make sure we pin it down as tightly as we can. And also options to enforce those rules. There's no good having them there, or those requirements, if you can't put some enforcement in place and make sure that they're absolutely adhered to, and what's going to happen if they're not. And I guess essentially I would just say great tenants, just get great tenants, develop really good relationships with them, make sure that communication is ongoing and regular.
Another thing on your site is you look at we've got the property, you've got the property side of it, your buildings, and all the rest of it. But there's a number of different sites operating with big machines or a number of machines. So asset management is a very is getting a big growing concern. So you've got to keep on top of that because you only need to have a machine go down and stops business for days, weeks, and it happens. Sometimes you can't avoid it, but having a program in place and utilising professionals to assist with that is I think when you're investing so much into the machinery and the operation is imperative to maintaining a good operation of the business as well, because these things a lot of them are made overseas, equipment and things just you cannot pick them up down the road, as we all know. The next thing, when you're looking at your site as well, that does you look at the maximisation of your site, and this is a long bow here, but Glen will start us off here with how we look at what we do on site to get that happening.
Yeah, again, with RQ doing a yacht club, it's very different. We've got 15 hectares and 6,000 square metres. That is pristine grass for everybody to rig their sailing boats on. So that's the largest grass area of any yacht club in the world. So we don't touch that with the grass at all unless you're rigging a dinghy there for your child. A couple of things that we've done is reclaim land. So in 1964 when RQ started, they had 1,000 square metres, we now have 15 hectares. And the next thing that we're looking at now is reclamation. We've got 40,000 square metre dredge pit that we've just finished dredging in April. There's 4 marinas in Manly Harbour that will be dredging in the next 48 months. And the plan is that we'll reclaim that land and turn that into more land for RQ. That's the biggest maximisation we can see. We're running out of room. Car parks are a problem on the weekends with all the boats. We've got 600 berths in Marina, so everybody comes down to the boats, bringing kids down to sail, and we run out of room very quickly. I've seen what Gold Coast City have done with those containers. They look like an amazing use of space. It's very simple and to be able to get quite a cheap business up and running. Seems like it's a really good start for younger businesses. Another thing that RQ's built over many years is Titan sheds. We've got 120 garages used for multiple different car storage, sailing storage. Businesses running out of it now. We're about to build another 4 because of demand is there now. So our architect likes the idea of Titan sheds. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing look, but they're very cost effective, quick to build, concrete floor, tin shed, last for a long time. We've turned an area of the club, there was 2,000 square metres of unused land that was used really for camping. We've turned that in, with our new Rubber trailer, we've turned it into storage for long-term catamarans. Nothing like what's happening down the Gold Coast at the moment. We've got the small market we've got in Brisbane. That's been quite a huge revenue for us rather than people coming to camp for $9 a night. So that's been a huge benefit in revenue, easy revenue, land was there. We're also looking at containers for storage. We're still not over the line with the DA on it because with them being movable, we've got to get a DA approval to put the containers on. But the pricing that we've done on a container is very cheap. Whether you go 2 high, 4 high, they seem to be a cheaper way than a Titan shed, more structurally sound. The Yacht use that same style as well. 20 footers, 40 footers readily available. The other thing that is in a long-term plan, so RQ's got a 50-year master plan that's been drawn up over many years, and another plan of that is for another level of car parks. Because we can see the member base that we're growing at the moment is about 500 a year that we're growing year on year. And I know the Australian standards actually dropped the car park ratio, which is fantastic for a lot of the smaller clubs. So we're now looking at whether we build another level of car parking. And the cost of that is, I don't know if anybody's ever gone into that cost proposal, it's very expensive, works out about $15,000 a car park. So that's one thing I think everybody looking to the future of developing a marina and putting more marina berths in is where can car parks go? We've got a lot of land and we still don't have enough area there to park everybody's cars on the weekend. Our slipway, we've changed that. We've got 15 screens, they're 8 metres wide. With this Rupert, we've now had the opportunity that we can actually put larger catamarans in there. The benefit with that trailer is that you don't have the wheel arch and the wheel frame blocking a metre either side of the screen. So we can now, rather than putting a 5 metre wide boat in, we can now put an 8 metre wide boat into a screen. So that's been we're probably about 50% cats, 50% monohulls just for that one reason. A lot of the contractors like working on cats because they're standing underneath in the shade rather than standing on the outside.
They like to park their cars under them.
Yeah, good car park too. And they're low to the ground, so that whole high risk working on the deck is reduced greatly. I just mentioned a bit about high risk. We had a contractor that was working on a flybridge with a 40-foot Riviera, no harness, barefoot, soap on his feet, I asked him to get down, he refused. So I actually said, I'm going to call Workplace Health and Safety. He said, do that. I called Workplace Health and Safety. And the senior officer that came out was so supportive, so helpful, not just to us, but also to the contractor. He went and got all the contractors together and had a talk to them all. Now they've all gone and invested in hooks to put in their boats when they come out of the water. All these Rivieras have come out now getting that done. They've gone and invested in scaffolding. So Queensland in particular, if anybody's got any issues, I would highly recommend to contact Workplace Health and Safety because they were very supportive, they were there to assist, they said they were there to prosecute, and they were very openly talking with all the contractors. The contractors were more than happy that that was a resolution rather than being a prosecution, which may have happened. That's about all I had on.
Yeah, all right. Anyone else want to pipe in? Yep.
For a second, I just want to say,
Yep.
that's really good advice, and I would use that advice, or I would give that advice in terms of all the authorities that we're dealing with. So EPA, for example, we have a really fantastic EPA officer who, if we need any assistance, she'll come down and she'll walk through matters with us so that we'll absolutely understand what we're facing, so that we don't make any mistakes. And the same for Sydney Water. They do the same thing. We have a customer relationship manager who'll pop into the site and he'll give us advice on how we're managing the trade-based system and so on. So they're a really good source of information. I would most definitely take advantage of that wherever we can.
Well, being proactive with them and talking with them regularly makes me get that. You do get that relationship, and then it makes it easier. They're not like in the old days we used to try and avoid them like the plague. But we do the same thing. You've just got to you have that relationship, and then you can make the call to them and just ask them questions. And most of the time they are really open and willing to help you where they can. There's certain things they can't give advice about, but too much, or product wise. But there's a lot of times they will really help out the situation, and when something does arise, then they come on site and we'll work with you about fixing it, not trying to crew you on it. That leads into the part of what we're talking about with the customer, dealing with it, and that is part of without our customers, we don't have a business, and that's where we've really got to, as an industry, grow our the way we deal with them and the service that we offer. Lorraine, you want to kick off with that?
Yeah, I will. So customer service. I mean, I've had boats for many years, and I've seen how they've changed such a lot, and the environment that we're in, it's a beautiful, clean site. Very expensive boats are coming to us. When I think customer service, for me, I immediately think luxury car. So the experience for a boat owner when they come to us should just be quite exactly the same as you would expect if you've got a beautiful car, or even just like I said, in basic models or brands of cars these days that do the same really high level of customer service. So I take my car to Alfa Romeo Fiat dealer, and I take it there because they've texted me to tell me it's due for a service. And then I take it there, it's beautiful and clean, they'll talk through exactly what's going to go on with that vehicle on that day. We'll agree on that, they'll give me back to work if I need it, or give me a loan car, and then they'll call me through the day and say, the plan's changed a little bit, if it has, and this is what we would recommend that you do, that we can do for the car now, and this is going to be the price. Are you happy to proceed? So just those really basic things like that, that we're instigating in our service yard, are having a major impact on the way that customers feel about the experience that they've had with us. It's a seriously expensive investment to have a boat, isn't it? So we want them to go through a journey with us, one that they know we really respect. They're a highly valuable asset, and that it's good for us to know that they trust, they can hand it over to us and trust us with it as well. An important part of that, towards the end of that journey as well, or we'll stay in contact with them regularly throughout that entire process, but right at the end, when we give that boat back, it's beautiful and spotlessly clean, just like I would receive my car. When I go there and I pick it up, it's beautiful and clean, and I'm happy. And then it gives me a sense of trust as well, that they've done absolutely the right thing, they've done what they said they would, the bill is what they said it would be, and then I drive away and I'm really happy. And that's what I'm instigating in our service yard, that it's got to be the experience for our customers, and we know that will keep people coming back to us.
And Glen, you've got a different scenario because, as we talked about before, they're customers but they're members as well. So you've got to balance that.
Yeah, being members at ARQ, it's $1,000 to be a member of ARQ, and everybody feels they own a little bit of everything and part of that club, which is a very interesting dynamic versus the commercial marina. I've only been at ARQ for about 18 months, so I'm still learning a little about the members, but I think the members expect a little bit more, and we're slowly increasing that. They now I go down and meet boats when they come in, I go and see the boats when they come off. I've always got one of the girls down there taking a photo of the boat, asking them if they want the photo sent to them. We now save it on file. There's still these little touches that we're trying to improve on. The contractors are now changing the way. I think they just expected the boats to come to them as they were member boats, and because it was RQ, we're now getting a lot of boats that we're not going to RQ are now coming back to us. And I think that's the girls that are following up what Lorraine says. When they're both 6 months out from doing annuals, they get an email saying you're now 6 months in advance. Would you like to book in for your boat? So all those little things that we're changing there now that people aren't used to. We don't do a text message service or anything like that yet. I think. Do other marinas do that? Do they send out emails or text messages in advance?
Yep.
And that all works well? Everybody's getting good feedback on that?
We've found text messages much more responsive.
Yep.
There's too much junk going to emails.
Yeah.
Too many specials, too many stuff like that. So our members rarely read our emails. But text is straight back. They know it, codes it, if we want to give them changes of anything in the yard, safety updates, straight directly to their phones.
Yeah, that's good. Because there's a lot more access to information now, so the customers are a lot more savvy than they ever used to be. It used to be the old white pages or yellow pages where they look up something. Now, they get online, they can compare different facilities quickly. So when they come in, you've got to make that opportunity, take that opportunity to get to make the process for them right, as good as clean and as joyful as it can be when you're going in. Because you got a lot of times going into a yard is very stressful for people. I mean, you watch some people drive into a travel lift dock, they freak out. And so having people meet them at the dock and bring them through, talk to them from the start to the finish and throughout the process is it goes a long way with them. And people are expecting a lot more these days too. It's not like that they walk into a yard and let's drop it off and go. They want to be involved. They want to be updated like you do with your car. It's a challenge to keep that right and keep that information to them and keep your team. But as we say to our whole team, it's imperative that you when you're talking to the customer, you engage with them, and every one of us is speaking from the same hymn sheet. They understand the language of the complex, and they all feel comfortable with everybody they're dealing with. We get a lot of good feedback coming back from the owners because of the way they've been dealt with on site, because everyone is proactive and discussing and the way they deal with them is making them feel comfortable. So it is a big part of our industry to go forward. We need to, I think you're hearing it from different yards. They're all stepping up the way they do it and what people expect. So going forward, we need to just make that happen. We're getting very close to the end. We still haven't done all our items. Customer service. Sorry, just.
Does anybody have anything they want to ask?
Yep. Obviously, the market's changing too. Within the industry, we're dealing with bigger boats or wider boats, and the size, the number of boats too, and the age of boats. And that's one of the things that you've got to keep looking at with our yards. Obviously, with Glen's situation, RQ, with so many boats in there, and there's a range of ages and whatnot, of how you deal with the different members' age, but also the vessel ages. There is a lot of timber boats, and this is what a lot of the yacht clubs get. That they're still going. We've got great shipwrights up and down, throughout Australia, and these vessels are getting older. So you've got to. It's a challenge to continue. You're dealing with a 100-year-old boat, or you're dealing with a brand new boat. But I know from our perspective on site, you've got to. Some things you cannot change just because the boats are getting bigger or wider or whatnot. But we look at how we adapt our site. So we continually improve our property where we can. So obviously it comes down to dollars as well. But what people are expecting a lot more these days on site as well. And people want to have boats undercover where it's working on. 10 years ago, they're happy to have a boat on the hard, and unless it was doing major works, they want to be undercover. There's a trend now to a lot more people wanting to have their boat for simple works to be undercover, and that's a challenge for a lot of properties because they can't do it. But that's where you've got to look at what else is out there. And we talked about the domes as a thing, as an option, because Ben you've got some big ones on your property.
Definitely have some big ones.
Yes.
We've been looking overseas. We've got the top hat shelters in Port Lauderdale, and they were brilliant. You're talking about a place that's susceptible to hurricanes and everything else, but they still flood the yards with them, and they're definite use. But then having the machinery out, the machine's 20 metres wide, 15 metres high, just to get that boat into that shed, you can imagine how big your area to utilise that is. So having a stand to make it cost effective for those sheds is very important as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, upgrading machinery to go along with what the boats are. Touching on the trailers and whatnot, they are a great piece of equipment now. They've improved so much more dramatically in the last couple of years, and what the flexibility, what you can do with those, and how you can. It increases the number of boats you can put into your property. I saw there's a facility in north of Fort Lauderdale, Stuart. They got a hydraulic trailer, and they winterise a lot of boats. Or people leave their boats down there for when they go back, and it doubled the capacity of a shed. They went from 35 boats to 69 in the same building.
We just ordered a 200-tonne trolley for that same reason, with the capacity to put another unit onto the back of to make 400.
Yeah.
We have 90-metre sheds by 25 wide, 25 high. We can put two yachts side by side now rather than just putting one boat in that shed. We used to deal with the Navy. We'd have two Navy patrol boats side by side in the shed. Now, that's not telling you how much you're going to return. Don't return figures straight away. And 20-metre wide travel, if we pick up a 5-metre wide trawler, you can see what the space you're wasting pretty quickly without the trolley.
Yeah, and that's good comes out. So upgrading your equipment, maximising your site efficiency. RQ bought your trailer, and that's changed the way your yard operates now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's double capacity.
Yeah.
And getting all the cats, particularly in Manning Harbour, staying in the yard is fantastic.
Yeah. also, you know, it even comes down to looking at how the old berths in properties too, because, you know, back in the day we used to build 8 and 10 metre berths. If you're building a new facility now, I don't think you'd build anything under 15. John, what would be the smallest berth you'd design into a... They're not many. So, and then you got to look at the opportunities with redeveloping your properties, because talking with Rob Cruz from Crystalbrook yesterday, I mean, they've got these 12 metre berths that they're hardly using now, and the occupancy on those is very low. He talked about it earlier in a piece that they put in these 22 metre berths and they're flat chat. So redesigning some of your waters, and you're doing the same. They're going to be, RQ's going to go through and continue to redevelop their berths, because these boats are bigger. Now, you won't get as many boats in there, but it will have, the occupancy level will go up. You'll go from 50% to 90%, and they're paying more money. So it's an exercise in how you look at your property and what you can do with that. So it's unfortunately we cannot stay static. Our business is growing. John, you want to anything that you?
Well, just one thing on that too is that doing a lot of feasibilities for marinas, it used to be they'd do it on overall length, so they charge per metre of length, but the boats are wider as well.
Yeah.
So it's got to be the same as a factory. You charge per square metre, because otherwise the 10 metre boats are subsidised their 20 metre boats, and you're just doing it on feet.
Well, the reality now, a marina and yard business is really a real estate business, because you're renting space, and it's not even comes down to where the boat is on the hard. It's a 6 metre beam boat, but they've got scaffold all around it. So we never used to think about that, but then all of a sudden that boat is taking up 9 metres. So you've got.
How many yards are charging per area rather than length? I don't know.
No, it's starting to come in, but it's a challenge, because it's never been there. So it's an education process, and the trailers are the big ones to take this forward, because if the boat's not doing any work outside of on the outside, they might be doing inside internal works or topside works, and they don't need anything any scaffold around the boat, you can line them up side by side. So all of a sudden you're getting more boats into your yard. If they want that, then that flow on of that is, okay, if you need that space, you'll pay for that space. So now we've got to pull up, and we did our hour and a half. We thought we had a 45-minute session, so we'd sort of planned around that. I'd like to say thank you to my team for being up here with me. We didn't actually get through everything we wanted to, but it's good to have the interaction of a room. I think it's a better scenario for us, the way we're in having yards. Appreciate you all coming in today and being involved. A couple of things that I just looking at. We've got at the yards. We can't be all things to everybody. So we need to pick our strengths, and that's what you're hearing. What people are doing in yards are doing. They're doing that. We are getting more professional. We're lifting the standards. So it's great to see that that's happening. It's going to protect us. And we've got big assets, and we've got. It's not just the property we've got to protect, it's our people in there. We're going to make sure they're one of our biggest assets, the people that work and operate with us. They're part of it's a family, they become part of the family. So we've got to make sure that we protect everyone there. And thank you very much. Anything else you'd like to add? Thank you, guys. Everyone, thank you very much for coming on and listening to us.